afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Industry. My name is Kristina Demou, and from Kristina Demou Coaching, I am a vocal coach, an audition coach, and confidence and mindset mentor. And I'm doing this interview series because I just think what better way to utilise the time efficiently and to get inside the minds of the successful people in the industry working at the moment. And today's guest is Miss Felicity Frisky.
Hi guys.
How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
Just want to talk about you breaking out a little bit into the kind of individual host kind of vocal compare. I don't know how you want to phrase it, but I mean, you know, because there's some really nice sort of key elements that I'd love your advice for the viewers on that comes with that. So how did you kind of make that transition, or at least create another sort of side to that?
Yeah, so I think it happened sort of quite naturally out of Frisky and Mannish. People started to ask Frisky and Mannish we could host the night. So generally, if you don't know about Cabaret, generally speaking, there would be a structure of an MC or a host who would come out, do a song, get everybody nice and relaxed and into what's happening, and then they would introduce each act, and they come on and they talk to the audience in between, and it's pretty functional because you're basically covering while they, you know, clear the whatever they need to and get set up for the next thing or whatever. So there's always, not always, but most often an MC at a Cabaret night, and it started to get to the point where people were asking Frisky and Mannish if they would MC. And for us, we tried it a couple of times, but it was logistically quite difficult because we need a piano. So you've got to move the piano on and off, and that defeats the object of being the thing that's covering all of the stuff that's happening. Also, what we do, as I say before, what we do, because we're a duo, we kind of have what we do. We kind of do our set stuff, and then the ad-lib and the improv there was very little of that, especially in the early days. We decide what we were going to do. There'd be subtle changes over time, but it was pretty set. And an MC needs to be super flexible. You need to be able to add 2 minutes, go. You need to just be able to respond to somebody in the audience. You're kind of the main artery for the audience. You'll be the person that will kind of identify people in the room. If someone's got a birthday or somebody's doing a thing, you know, you're the person that they'll talk to and they'll want to talk to about stuff. So Frisky and Mannish, it wasn't really working, but I found that I enjoyed it when I got the chance to do it. And so then somebody was, you know, a couple of people sort of said, would you be interested in doing it yourself? And I was sort of like, I mean, it's terrifying, completely terrifying. You know, I'd never been on stage on my own at that point. And I was like, okay. And I did a few tiny little bits and pieces, and they weren't completely horrific. So I was like, okay. And then what happened was about 5 years in, Matthew and I had been doing we did a lot of international touring, so we do kind of a cycle of like Edinburgh Fringe, UK tour, Australia festivals, back to the UK to write and preview a new show, and then start the whole thing again. And we did that for about 5 years, and we were tired, we were exhausted, and we were definitely taking our chemistry and our relationship for granted, and things nearly broke down. And we were like, we need a break to save our friendship and to save our sanity. We need to have a break from Frisky and Mannish. And pure economic necessity forced me to get on a stage on my own, because I still had bills to pay. I still had to do stuff. And that, you know, I was just thrust into the situation where I had to figure it out. And I was doing a few solo spots, but mostly it was hosting. And I've always been, I'm a new parent, and I have a lot in my head about, you know, being a good mother and helping with a growth mindset. And it's made me realize I did not have a growth mindset. I was a fixed mindset. I was like, you're good at what you're good at, and that's that. Things that you're not good at, forget about it, move on, which is completely wrong. It's not the way to live your life. And this was the first time in my life I had to embrace the growth aspect and go. And I started from a place of, well, I'll never be as good at this as I am at Frisky and Mannish. So let's just take that off the table. Let's take it off the table being successful. This is necessity. This is, I need to eat. These people will pay me to come and do a show. Let's just do it. But then my own natural pride doesn't let you stop there. It doesn't let you just do the basic. You go, I can do better than that. Okay, if I do this differently, and I'll do this, and then maybe if I change that. And again, the wonderful Dusty Nimitz gave me the best advice ever, and he just said, if you can be interesting at a dinner party, then you can be interesting on stage.
Oh
Because
my
that's
God,
what
say
we're
that
doing.
again. We lost you on that part.
Oh
Sorry,
no.
you cut out. If you can be.
If you could be. Anyway, that was the best advice of my life. You just said if you worry about being funny and interesting on stage to an audience, um, if you're interesting at a dinner party, you're interesting on stage. It's the same thing. You're in conversation, you're welcoming people, you are finding out about them, and you're sparking conversation and you're sparking an atmosphere. That's cabaret, essentially. It's just a really, really big dinner party where the host has a microphone.
Yes.
And that was really freeing. And it was all this process of stripping back. And even goes back to the Royal Academy, idea about what my voice was, a fixed idea about my voice. But the Royal Academy Estel method is anything you hear, you can, physiologically speaking, do. Your voice is a palette. You can do an operatic sound, you can do a jazz sound, you can do belts, you can do legit soprano. It's physiologically possible, and it's not wrong to be able to use all those colours. And it's those new, like, crucial things in my life just open the doors and go, oh, I don't have to worry about doing this exact thing. I don't have to worry about knowing everything that I'm going to say before I say it. I don't have to worry about, you know, is this going to be the most amazing thing that's ever happened, ever? Like, just create an atmosphere, relax, use all of the skills that you have available to you and go with it. And then, you know, I just gradually did more and more hosting and solo things. A few brilliantly supportive fellow performers and producers, like there's a guy called David Harris I have to give a shout out to, who gave me so much opportunity to play in his things. He would just say, come, sing whatever you want. And I was taking really dark, beautiful stuff there and stuff I would never have got the opportunity to do. I wasn't trying to be funny. I was just expressing something with my voice. And the amazing Ali McGregor, who's an Australian performer, who gave me, you know, lots of advice and lots of connections. And partly thanks to her, I got the opportunity to fill in for a show called La Soiree, which is an Olivier award-winning show, but it's a line-up cabaret show with its roots in fringe. And all it did was take kind of the best fringe, burlesque, and street performers and put them on a stage together in a Spiegel tent, which is this beautiful mirrored wooden tent, in a show that was pacey and everybody in it was good. And this was one of the few examples of a show without an MC, because it didn't need it. It was like bang, 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 bang. And I'd first seen it when I was 19 in Edinburgh. Never had a concept that I would do anything like that, but it blew my mind and it was my favorite thing I'd ever seen. So then they were doing a run in London. One of the singer couldn't do one night and they needed a fill-in for one night. And they said, oh yeah, could you come down and just fill in? And it's only 3 songs, but I knew, I was like, oh, no, you don't. This is the baby. This is the one I want. This is the show that I want. So I came up with like completely new material for it, like got whole new looks with my amazing friend, Yaya, who has just left to go back to Australia. I don't want to think about, but she's, you know, I had these amazing people helping with input and stuff. And Matthew helped me create the piano tracks for it. You know, he was like, yeah, of course, and like played out these great tracks. And then that one night of La Soiree went an absolute blast. And Brett Hale, the producer, was like, yeah, we'll definitely have you back. And the next year that job was mine, and I went with them to Denmark and to London and to Australia, and you know, and then that was like, then I was established as a solo artist. Then I was established doing Miss Frisky, who she is, and then from there I had, you know, even more amazing opportunities to work with amazing companies, like there's the guys from the show Briefs, if anybody's seen that, like just the most joyous boylesque circus drag amazingness, and they created a little spin-off show in Edinburgh which I got to host, and I learned a lot doing that, because I went into that going, I don't know if I'm an experienced enough host to do this job, but I'm gonna say yes. And it's that kind of bravery was starting to be part of what I was doing, which was, I think, a big thing. So to say yes and then figure it out.
Oh my God, that is literally my quote.
Yeah.
Say yes and figure it out after.
Yeah,
because you do. The pressure's on, and you will do it. You'll just make it happen because it's you out there in front of these people. And it's actually surprising how you do figure it out, or you figure some things out. You'll learn something, whether it was a, you know, a not so great decision or one that really worked. And I love that. I
And
love
that's
that.
times where you're on, like, I think one of the things I've ended up doing is I talk very fast. I talk very fast on stage. Is because of that, because if I say something and it doesn't land and it doesn't work, then I'm straight on to the next thing and I'm carrying on. It doesn't matter anymore. We've moved on. You've forgotten now, you even said anything. So we've already moved on to something else. And it's a pure like technique of just like, okay, next thing, let's go.
Yeah, next.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And
love
also,
that.
you know, like vocally, you know, you're not always in control of the this is a slightly different point, but like it can be very difficult. One of the big challenges of being a singer in cabaret is the technical side, because it's low budget. You do not necessarily have very good monitoring. You do not necessarily have a very good microphone. You can't hear yourself. You can't hear what you need to be doing particularly well. And it is a really easy situation to really push and oversing and make really bad vocal choices and hurt yourself. And I did that a few times along the way. And I quickly, you know, thankfully I had the training behind me to go, oh, I know I've done that. I know what I need to do. Rest, cut it back. Okay, regroup, come at it again. And, you know, it's a big vocal challenge as a singer to work in that. And it's a big, you know, skill to also learn, and to be able to really, really trust what you feel is happening, and not just what you hear, because you're not necessarily going to be able to hear. So really, really having that technique to sit back on and go, no, I know that this is safe. I know that this will work. I know this will sound good. In those situations where something comes out and you're like, okay, that was not the note I wanted it to be. That was a bit of a yodel. Okay, cool. Let's style it out and carry on. You know, and not letting that knock your composure, not letting that knock, and either looking at the audience and going, oh, that was it. Oh, anyway, carry on. And they love you for it, because they're like, yeah, we heard that too. We all heard it. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, be comfortable with it and accept yourself, I guess, for all your flaws and everything that's going on. As well as loving it when it goes right. Live it, love it.
Oh, yeah.
You can take that moment and be like, yes, I rule. It's great. You know, and it's
there's definitely, there must be like some real satisfaction when you have like the audience in the palm of your hand. You've nailed the vocal and you're just like, if I drop this mic, it would just not be not okay. It's good. It's good right now because I earned it. Like, I think they're the moments, like you said, you need to embrace it all, and you need to kind of just feel and live all of it, because it's always going to help you in every way. You're going to learn from it, or you're going to just thrive on it and buzz. And that's why you do it ultimately, isn't it? We do it for the buzz, for the artistry, to make people feel, to make people, you know, take them away from wherever they are.
Oh, yeah,
I've just got a couple more questions, if I may, if you're okay for time.
Yes. I mean, you're keeping me from my wonderful husband is getting some full daddy-daughter time with my 2-year-old, so I'm very happy to let them play out in the cold.
You carry on. Are you in a conversion, by the way? Are you indoors?
This is my loft. I know. See, this is
so
where
exciting.
We get into those things, because Kristina was here in the earlier stages, but yeah, no, we've got like things now. Ooh.
This is so exciting. You have walls.
I know. Nobody else knows why this is exciting, but trust me, it's very exciting.
No, but it is very exciting. I love it.
From a cabaret star, you too could have walls.
Yes, exactly. Well, you know, it's what your career paid for, you know, this farmhouse in France.
It did.
Boom, let's do it. That's what I was going to touch on, actually, the vocal aspect and the pressure of being a solo. You know, you would be the vocalist amongst all the other acts. You would be the one that sings, and you're a solo. It's very exciting. I know someone else knows. Steph. Yes, it really is. How did you deal with those moments when you were obviously a little bit under par, or you were sick, or you know, you were just maybe physically exhausted? Like, what was that like, kind of having that pressure on you, and how did you sort of get through those tricky moments?
Well, the biggest one actually came kind of after that narrative. So to pick up from the end of that, what I ended up then doing was getting a call from a German company saying, could you come and host a dinner show? You'll have to speak a bit of German, but we'll help you. And I'm like, again, say yes, figure it out later. And the first time
Absolutely.
I did it with them in a city called Graz in Austria, it was a blast and it went brilliantly. And the show was really built around me, and it was like this amazing kind of vehicle for me. But it was a show of like 10 big numbers, and I was the only singer. And on top of that, I was emceeing, introducing all the acts, getting the audience going. And there's a big vocal load in generating energy in a room, because you want to do it, but you want to go, come on, you know what I mean? Like that gives energy. You can't go, hey guys, come on. It's not the same. It comes with vocal energy. So there's a big cost of that. And then also, because it was a dinner show, the show was cut up into little sort of 20-30 minute chunks, and they had dinner in between, courses in between. And I would go table to table and talk to people and say, hi, you're having a nice time, you're enjoying your evening, got everything you need, this is great, you know, kind of in character, fabulous, fabulous, pictures. So I was, from when the evening started at 7:30 until it finished at about 11, I was vocally non-stop at the very top of what I was working at. The first season we did that was quite short, and it was okay, got through it, it's all good. The second season was the following year, and we were in Berlin, and the workload was much heavier, the schedule was much heavier. When it got to December, I had only Sundays off, so I was working 6 days a week, that kind of vocal load. And I was just about doing it. I knew it was a big workload, and I'd actually found an Estel coach in Berlin to work with this time, because I knew it was a big load. And thank goodness I had already done that, because I got sick. And you know, you're in a big city, I'm mingling with lots of people all the time. Of course, it's going to happen. Now much more about virus transmission. We know it happens very easily.
Happens.
And I got a flu, and I had to take a week off. And it was one of those things, you know, when you get sick as a singer, you're very aware of where is inflamed. So if you've got a sinusitis, you can work through it. Like, you're making adjustments, but it's here. When you've got a chest or a throat, different situation, because the inflammation's there. And if you're working on it and you're straining it, it gets worse, and it gets worse, and it gets worse, and it gets worse until you've given yourself some problems. So, you know, I knew enough that there was no question I had to take that week off. I went actually on the first day, it went straight onto my larynx. And I did go and see some doctors in Berlin who took a look. And they said, you can't work for 2 weeks. And I was like, but I'm self-employed, and if I don't work, I don't get paid. I cannot afford to take 2 weeks off. And they were just like, you should take 2 weeks off. And I was like, well, thank you. I'll take the week. I was like, I'm not an idiot. I'll take the week, and I'll see how I'm feeling. At the end of the week, the voice was starting to come back, and the company were great. They helped me come back in on an lightened workload, and we found ways around the show where certain numbers could be put on a backing track, or I didn't have to sing certain things or do certain things. They were really great. But ultimately, I shouldn't have worked. I shouldn't have gone back on stage. I shouldn't have been doing it. And the recovery was long through the season, and I knew something wasn't right, and I knew that I wasn't getting back to where I should be. The real telltale was I had to do Chandelier, the Sia song, and I was doing the sort of piano version of it, so it's really exposed, because you're going 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 9, it's like, it's like comes out of nowhere, this belt, and it's there or it's not there. There are no two ways about it. So every night I had this like watershed of like, is this going to come out? Can I do this? And I didn't sing it for the longest time. And then when it came back into the show, I was like, I know something's not right. I know something's not right. Luckily, because it's not a set, like in a musical, there were workarounds. I could make different choices with melodies. I could do slightly different things. I had that freedom. But at the end of the season, I went back to see the coaches, and they had a look, and the doctors, and they were like, yeah, you've got nodules. Now, for a singer, I don't think that there's anything worse than that moment when somebody goes, you've got nodules. And you go, okay. And I think also there's a horrible stigma in our industry about it as well, of, well, that's because you're not doing it right. And thankfully, I wasn't in a company of singers. I was in a company of acrobats. Acrobats use their bodies in the most ridiculous way all the time. And they're always treading that line of injury. And they accept that, because they go, I use my body at its maximum potential, and I use it in a really specific way, and I'm capable of it, but it's still a huge stretch for me to do what I do. You know, for me
You're
to
athletes.
fly from a
You're both athletes, vocally and physically.
And they had they account for that. They had regular physiotherapists coming in every week to work with the acrobats to keep everybody on top form. And thankfully I was in that situation. So I kind of stopped as I started to feel like I'd failed, as I started to feel like I was a failure as a singer and as a failure as a professional. I stopped and I went, no, I'm an acrobat using my voice and I have an injury. And that happens. It happens.
Yeah.
And it's not about how did the injury happen even necessarily. It's now about how do I recover. I knew how it had happened. It had happened because I was working really hard on a really vocally intensive show and a really punishing schedule, and I'd worked kind of through an illness that I should have had the time off for. Okay, what's next? And it was 2 weeks before the end of the season, and they were like, okay, you should finish the season, work as safely as you can. I started having therapy with this Estel coach, and I started having her exercises, and between her and the doctors, they were just like, take a month off, don't raise your voice, don't sing with your voice, speak clearly, quietly, but that's it. That's all you can do for a month. And luckily I didn't have to totally go completely silent. I'd been doing a lot of vocal resting during the days, and I understood to keep it to a minimum, but and luckily I had that time in my schedule, so I didn't have to cancel anything. I didn't have to clear anything. So it's coming to the end of this long contract anyway. I took the time. I did, everything I could, because it's terrifying. The prospect that you're not going to be able to work the way that you have, or, lose the thing that is how you earn your living, and not even how you define who you are, that's in the balance, is just terrifying. So it wasn't, the incentive was there to figure it out. And then I went back to see, the amazing Mr. John Rubin in London, the guy that you see with your voice problems. And luckily the nodules I'd gone. They weren't fixed, they weren't there, they'd gone.
They'd gone. That's amazing.
Big lesson. And then the next year when I went back into that, the following year I actually had my baby, so I didn't do too much singing. But then coming back into working for that company again, it was a new show, it was a new start, and it was straight off the bat, it was like, okay, that workload, that's not sustainable. How do we redo this? How do we make this into something that's possible? And it's difficult. In musicals, you're not going to have that opportunity, sadly, because the reality of it is you're eminently replaceable, and they will just burn through performers, which they do. And it happens. People have short careers working too hard because they won't look at something and go, yeah, you know what, the role of Ava Peron, it probably is unsingable, actually, 8 shows a week, maybe that's not how we should write shows. Maybe that's not how we should do it. Maybe we should be more open to role sharing. Maybe we should be, but unfortunately, because of the turnover of performers, the industry doesn't work that way, which I think is a problem. But it is, you do have to look after yourself and have the confidence to speak up and say, this isn't working, this doesn't work. We have to find a way. Reach out to whoever you need to, be that coaches, be that doctors, be that your creative team, and find a way around. Don't suffer in silence and lose the thing that is your livelihood,
I think this is so invaluable, because I think, as a performer starting out, you can tend to have this kind of attitude of, I will just do anything and take anything and do whatever you ask me, and not, even if you think the pay's not great, or the circumstances and situations aren't necessarily ideal, or maybe above board, there's this kind of sense of, we'll just do whatever it takes just to get that kind of foot on the ladder. But I think you're right, it's a fine line to tread, and there's going to be ways around these things, but absolutely vocal health and physical health is paramount, as we're all very well aware, especially now. And I think it's really good to be a trained singer and to have had that kind of vocal knowledge behind you, because like you said, when you know about your instrument and how to play it, it's really then about making the right and safe choices for that moment at that time. If you think, I need to come off the gas a little bit, and maybe I need to sing that in head voice, or maybe I'll do a few creaks just to check that everything's okay. And when you've got that knowledge, it's just so important.
I never stopped learning as well. I've come across lots of techniques along the way that I would, like bubble with a straw, that kind of thing. That was not that we had when we were at There she is. We're not something we had when we were training, but it's come through recently as more of a development, and it's really helped me, and it's really great. And I remember, I think it was Anne-Marie Speed, the legendary, had said to us when we were training, you've got two voices. Maybe it was Mary Hammond. Anyway, it could have been either of them. I'll just keep dropping amazing coach names until it's the right one. Maureen Scott, could have been any of them, I don't know. That you've got two voices. You've got the voice that you're working on, the voice that you're developing, the voice that you are extending what you can do with it, and you've got the voice you wake up with that morning to work with. And it's like that, it's being able to separate those two things out, and not just wake up and go, oh my god, this is all I can do, this is all I'll ever do, but going, okay, I've got an audition today, or I've got a show today, I've got a thing I've got to do today, these are the choices I'm going to make today. I'm not going to belt that E flat because it's not there right now. I'm working on it, and it will be there, and I'll get there because I'm figuring it out, and I'm close, and the muscles are getting stronger, and I'm getting better with my technique. But today, I'm gonna mix that E flat, and everything's fine, and nobody's gonna get hurt, and it's all good. I'm making a good choice, it's a safe choice, and I'll keep working on belting the E flat somewhere down the line.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we sort of round off, I've just got a question and then some tips. So, is there a point, actually I've got two questions. Firstly, is there anything that as Miss Frisky or Frisky and Mannish is still kind of maybe a burning desire to fulfill? Is there something you want to achieve, or you're still happy to just keep working and see what happens? Just wondering if there was something specific, maybe you were like, oh, we don't want our own show on, ITV or whatever. Or is there, and also, is there a moment that you wish, or maybe you could have gone back on and maybe you would have done things differently? If so, what was it? And then I'm going to ask if you've got kind of 3 bits of advice for performers going into the industry, and also about creating own work, or at least creating something whilst they're waiting for West End auditions or things like that. So three massive questions there, Laura. Go.
Okay. Everyone, buckle up. Here we go. In terms of, is there a thing left that I'd like to achieve? If you would have asked me that a year ago, the answer might have been different. Obviously, kind of the most, the widest seen thing in our industry is telly, and people often think, to do telly is to be at the top of the tree, and in many ways it is. But we had the opportunity to do a bit of telly as Frisky and Mannish early on, and we realised that it's related, but it's actually a different ladder. It's a different wheelhouse. It's a different set of skills and a different set of talents. And I think I wanted to go down the road and get better at that, and figure out how we could do TV and how we could do it. And I think we're still, we did a virtual show over Christmas, and with looking ahead at this year and the show that we wanted to take to Edinburgh, and how we could maybe put that out in a different format. So that we still kind of want to figure that out. But I think what I've also realized is we and I and what we do, like, we're very good with an audience, and I've realized, being away from them for so long, that that's what I love. I thought I might be a bit jaded, I thought I might be a bit over it, and I thought I might want to do something a bit more, do less work and get more for it. But actually, no. The creating something in a room with people, energy and experience, and a moment and a thing all together, that connection, that's really what I love. It's what I'm good at. It's what I want to do. And kind of the gift to me of this crazy time we're living through was that knowledge, was that understanding of myself. So yes, in an abstract way, maybe I would like to figure out how we could do Frisky and Mannish on telly, but more than that, I just want the opportunity to keep doing what we do, and keep doing it for audiences, and keep having the chance to do those shows and have those moments. That's all. That is I'm much more simply back down to that. What was the second question?
It was, is there a moment where you wish you could have maybe done things differently? If so, what was it?
I think I don't think there is a moment, because I think with all, I suppose a lot of what I've been talking about as a performer in the moment is accepting what's thrown your way and working with it. And I think that's borne out through my career and my life. I don't think I could possibly wish that without wishing to change everything I have now and everything I'm doing. Like, I'm extremely fortunate to be able to do the thing that I'm doing. And I do often think about coming back to musical theatre. I think I would kind of like to come back around and see if there was something and see how I felt doing it. I honestly don't know how well I would do. I don't know if I would be a nightmare to work with, because I'd be like, actually, what I think we should do here is this. But maybe I would like the opportunity to have another crack at that. But really, if this is where I am, very happy and very, the travel I get to do when we can travel is amazing. So I have to say no. I don't think there is anything I would go back on and do differently.
I think that's really nice, isn't it? Because you know, success can mean lots of different things to different people, but sometimes it can just mean, if you're an artist or a vocalist or an actor, is just getting paid to do what you love with people who appreciate what you do, people who love what you do and are, respectful and reciprocated of that, like are willing to sit and listen to you, you know, and to be able to, pay your bills, have life around that. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that, it can be done if you don't go down a traditional route. There aren't, I don't think there is a traditional route anymore.
No,
nowadays.
And I think that's it. I think a part of me kind of kept waiting for the moment where I would be like, okay, and now it's time to go back to the musicals. It's time to do that. And like I said, it's still there in the back of my mind, but there hasn't been a gap. I've been extremely lucky. The phone does keep ringing, and I keep having the feeling of like, oh, I want to do this thing. I'm going to go and do it. And as long as that keeps happening, there kind of isn't space for that pick me side of the career, because I'm not actually standing around waiting to be picked. I'm busy.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
I actually don't have an agent. I have to say at this point, like I haven't had an agent now for like 3 or 4 years. We were with Frisky and Mannish, signed to like a big agency. We were with a really, really big top agency for a really long time, and they were brilliant for us. We got lots of opportunities through them. But when that kind of fell apart, it was terrifying again, that whole thing of like, oh God, what are you without an agent? You have to have an agent. And then we didn't. We signed with an agent who then sadly had to let her clients go because she wasn't well. And again, we were like, oh God, we're cut adrift again. What's going to happen? And what happened was everything carried on. What happened was the phone kept ringing, and we answered it, and we did our own emails and we did our own deals, and we learned really quick how to do that. And mad props to Matthew, who takes the bulk of that, especially now I have a child. It actually turns out that there are sides of the industry you definitely need an agent for, and there are sides of the industry you definitely don't. And I'm very happy and very lucky to be able to just manage my business and figure out how to negotiate, figure out how to do things, and keep all of the damn money.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could literally talk to you for hours about this, and I did have some questions on that side of the industry, but I think if we just wrap it up with kind of 3 bits of what you think is very crucial or important advice for people going into the industry or thinking about, creating some work, or maybe who haven't even thought about going into, their own artistry kind of route.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I would say, firstly, a big thing about mental health, because it's a very important, very fragile thing. And it's a very psychologically brutalizing industry. And it's very difficult to keep yourself on an even keel. And, in many ways, my lowest points, mental health wise, were then the fuel for the fire to go forward. But that doesn't mean that living through it was any easier. And there have been times where I've had mental health struggles kind of out of the blue as well along the road, when I should have been at the top of my game, enjoying every second of it. And I think to treat your mental health the same way you treat your instrument, the same way you treat your body, to understand it, to get help for it, to look after it, to stay mentally as well as you can, and to take responsibility for it, but also to be kind to yourself. I was wanging on about mental health.
Mental health. Yeah.
So I was just saying, take responsibility for it the way you take responsibility for your vocal health and your physical health, is to work on it and get help for it, and be kind to yourself, every step of the way. Back yourself, believe in yourself, not in that kind of I'm amazing no matter what. Believe in yourself that you will get good at the things that you need to get good at, and you'll figure things out, and have that confidence that in your ability to grow, and be a wonderful rounded human being. The second thing would be, there's so many times in what I've done in my side of the industry that other performers and other creatives helped me and gave me a leg up and gave me a boost. And it's very easy to feel competitive with everybody around you. It's very easy to see lots of opportunities where you could maybe not mention to somebody that something is casting because you know that they're very good and could be right for it. But you might not want to recommend somebody for something when somebody's asking if you know any other singers who could do a job. It's very easy to start to fall into that, but it's toxic. It's not good for you. It's not good for the industry. Be the person you want to be surrounded by. So give those legs up, help those people out, be free with your recommendations and your support. Go and see people, go and see things, compliment people, be a well of support, because that's what you want. You want to meet those people. You want to be around those people. It only comes back to you tenfold, 100%. So don't be afraid of other performers. They're not your enemy. They're not your competition. You are the only you, doing only what you can do. So you don't need to worry about anybody else. You just embrace and uplift because they're doing their thing. They're on their track. They're on their path. And even if it feels like again and again the same person is like banging at your door, and I've been there, you just got to shake it off and go, but they're them. And if they are the better person for that job, then I was meant to be here to help them get it and move on to the next thing for me. You're not going to get a job by keeping somebody out of another one. So
yeah,
be that person. Don't pull the ladder up after you. And the last thing I would say, well, yeah, in terms of making your own work and being creative, is try not to reverse engineer. Try not to look at what's good now, what's doing well, what is the thing that people are into, and try and do it. Just think of the things that you want to do, that you like, stuff that's enjoyable. And yeah, it probably will be like derivative at first because you're kind of feeding back what you've been exposed to. That's okay. Keep doing it and figure out your own way through it. But just audiences can smell desperation and disingenuity a mile off. So if you're up there going, I'm being what I think I should be, everyone's going to go, bored. People won't connect with it. What you're looking for when you're making your own work is connection, is to find your audience, not the widest audience, not the biggest audience, but your audience, the people that get you, people that get what you do, because once you find each other, it's a long-term relationship. It's not just like, oh yeah, that was quite funny, haha, anyway, next thing. When there's a real connection there, when you really feel like everyone's got that comedian, they're like, oh my God, it's like they're my best friend. It's like they say everything I think. Those are the people that you want to connect with through what you're doing on stage. So just do what you really like, what you really find funny, what you really find moving, whatever it is. Yeah, do you.
Yeah. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this because I could not have given you a better guest today. And I'm so grateful that I get to call you my friend. It's insane.
Oh, stop it. Same. You see, this is the kind of person I'm talking about, guys. This is the queen of just uplift, of bring people up and all of that. Like, she's the queen. It's what it is.
But I'm a fan. But I love you dearly and I'm so excited. But before we say goodbye, I'm just going to quickly just let people know what we're doing next week. I'm very excited again. I'm excited about all my guests because they're all so different. But we've got the lovely Chloe Campbell, who dancer, singer, actress, who went to the West End and now she's living, life on Broadway and living in America, doing the thing that, so many of us wanted to do at the beginning. And so we're going to talk about how making that transfer from the West End to the Broadway stage insane. But until then, Laura,
I'll be tuning in because I need to know.
But it's I could just talk to you forever. Maybe I'll do a podcast one day and just get you on 5 times. We should do it. But I cannot wait until we're allowed to see theatre and come and see you again. And and we can travel, and then I can come and do some more grouting of your farmhouse.
Yes, please. There's lots of
I have a very proud moment. There's a proud wall. That third of
yeah,
the wall was
there is
mine.
the consistent certain wall.
But love to Barry and Leonie, and love to you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to impart such amazing, wonderful knowledge, tips, advice on a plethora of things, you know, in on a different side of the industry, which again I never knew existed when I started out, you know. And I think it's really important that we open up young people's minds to infinite possibilities, because everyone is different, and there are and they themselves as the artist can create whatever they want. And like you said, with your, as long as you enjoy it and as long as it's authentic to you and you love it, then you can't go wrong, can you? So well,
And at the very least, you're having a blast, so why not? Life's too short.
Exactly. Even if there's one person in the audience, that person could be like loving it.
I know. And I just want to say as well, like, there've been so many lovely comments while we've been chatting, like, hello,
yes,
big love to all of you. Richie, Jeffrey there, mwah, and Gemma Hurst, who I know you said some comments, like, these are the guys that I'm talking about that we found, that found us. And, you know, we've been seeing those guys around for so long, and they've been an amazing support to us. The Clarks, I saw Miles Clark is out there as well. Like, these guys they're amazing, wonderful, beautiful humans. Thank you for tuning in. You're all beautiful and wonderful and great. And it's thank you. And thank you, Kristina Demou, for giving me the chance to pretend that I am a performer again for a minute, because it doesn't feel like it right now. So thanks.
Yeah, I know. But I love you. And thank you so much to everyone that's tuned in or is going to watch this back. We do appreciate you, and hope that we can bring you some information and insight to inside the industry. I feel like I need some theme music now. Well, I don't know what it's going to be. KDTV.
Beautiful.
And maybe it could be, can you make a jingle for me, maybe? That could be next. Frisky and Mannish's next project.
Yeah, I'll see if Matt's available. We're having a catch up on Monday, so we'll get it out for you.
Oh, send my love to him. I love you lots. Thank you guys for tuning in. Take care.